Hey Tube, we are at Ocola. This is the Jeep Badge of Honor Tread Lightly Trail. And when I say trail, there's 81 miles of trail. There's not really one specific trail. And we are just kind of exploring.
Please join us on our fun and like and subscribe.
So this is Ocola National Forest in North Florida, kind of around Jacksonville, Orlando area. This is a kind of a sampling of what the trails look like. They are extremely tight and narrow, just the normal trails, and then they have pole lines that are wide and easy.
On both sides.
And it's all sand and rocks, as you can see here. And yeah, it is so narrow. I don't even know like what I would want to take down a trail like this. Maybe like a 50-inch side-by-side would be kind of what I would want to do. Because even if you're like on like ATVs and stuff, you'd need to wear a jacket or something probably, or you'll get scratched up. So then right here you can see the kind of the example of the pole line, the big difference. So that's Grace, our Corgi. If you do not know about our channel is mostly about camping and our life and taking the Jeep out, and obviously our Corgi. It's more of like a lifestyle vlog type channel. Occasionally there are other topics too. And so anyway, the topic today is the Badge of Honor Trail in North Florida. This is the Tread Lightly Trail, and when I say Badge of Honor, there is a app, like you can get it on your iPhone or your Android, called Badge of Honor, or you can go to Jeep's website and just type in Badge of Honor. And basically what you can do is when you go here, you check in with the app, and then once you're checked in, you give them your VIN number. They know that you're at the trail, and they will mail you a badge. And the badge is like a metallic, small little, like a 2-inch by 1-inch little badge you can put on the side of the Jeep to show that you have done this set of trails. And the trails are not meant to be difficult. They're meant to be unique. I know like a lot of people think that it's supposed to be just the most difficult trails in the United States, and that's not it. And so this really seems unique, and what you're seeing here is probably a pretty good example of what it's like to wheel in Florida. You see lots of sand, you see lots of vegetation that is kind of like swamp-like or Florida kind of vegetation is what you're seeing here, and it's very extremely narrow. So it seems like this trail does give you a good taste of Florida. Now if you look at the tracks that we're making, you'll notice that we are the widest vehicle on this trail, which is a little bit scary. It is marked as a Jeep trail. We are not on an ATV trail. I know like it looks like I'm on one, or Kimberly's driving, looks like we're on one. But this is truly marked on the map as a Jeep trail. And I think that pretty much everybody knows, except for maybe us, that probably you shouldn't have a Jeep on this trail. Probably it's more like cut for an ATV, even though it's marked to allow the other ones. And the other thing you'll notice is you're not seeing really any pull-offs or any kind of wide areas. That's because for the most part there aren't really any pull-offs or wide areas. You pretty much have to take your truck into the bushes and push aside the whatever, like if you need to pass somebody. It is just really ridiculous. So this is one of the different pole lines that we're on, and you can see the sand and clearly how sandy this is. So and you can see a good example of all the rock hard armor that we have. So anyway, so in these particular types of trails, this is where like the max tracks kind of shine, or the sand ladders, or whatever you want to call them. They're the big black, sometimes they're like different color things that you can stick on the ground to get traction. And in low traction environments, like that's something good to have with you if you get stuck. We did not need to use any of our recovery gear when we were here, and we didn't even air down. I think we pushed a button on the Rubicon to disconnect the sway bar, just to make the ride a little bit more smooth. I mean, we obviously were in 4-low just to go the right speed. But other than that, the trails were extremely easy. The most challenging thing was either getting around the bushes that were wanting to pinstripe the vehicle pretty much like non-stop, or just like the general navigation of like looking at the map and trying to figure out where to go, because it's basically a forestry map with like 81 plus miles of stuff on it. Probably has more than 81 miles on the map, but there's 81 miles of Jeep trails specifically on it, and just trying to figure out, well, which one is which and where do we want to go, and what is on each one. And I could not find a source anywhere, and I looked all over the internet. I did a whole lot of research to try to figure out which ones were the hot spots and which ones were the ones that were kind of like a waste of time. And in the end, we just selected some trails that were close to the campground that we were staying in, and we were staying at the Salt Springs Recreation Area. The previous video was on that, and I can put a link in the corner if you want to see the campground that you want to stay at. And so anyway, these trails are all around the place, and basically the way that you get to these trails is you just drive down one of the highways, and then they look like big streets kind of, and then you'll see a dirt road that just kind of goes off into the bushes. And that dirt road, most likely, you want to look at a map first, is most likely is part of the trail system. And it's that simple. It's also that easy. So I'm trying to include as much footage as we recorded, just so people can really get a sense of the trails that they have here. And yeah, I know this is a lot easier than kind of people were expecting probably. But I know quite a few people that collect these badges, and I just wanted to let them kind of get a legit look at what to expect if they come down here. And we are still on what is a pole line. This is, I think, a different pole line than the one that you saw at the beginning of the video. And this pole line, as weird as it is, basically leads to a bunch of houses. And yeah, it was just a little bit strange. So there are signs that say like private property in different places, but the trail that we're on, from what I can tell, is a national forest road. It's not actually like a part of the private property, so we're not like in anybody's backyard as far as I know. And like I was saying, you have the kind of the very unique vegetation going on, the Florida vegetation and the Florida sand and everything. A lot of the trails, it seem like, led to people's homes, so you have to be really kind of respectful. But it is all national park trails. It's not private property, like I was saying. This is an example of one of the super easy trails that we found. It almost was like a gravel road. So we did find this trail, and on this trail it specifically is marked with a Jeep, and the little sign on the right has a Jeep logo on it, and on the map it even says that this is a Jeep trail. And we were being extremely cautious because we were out here alone, which is kind of like a dumb thing to do. But, you know, I had my ham radio and my CB radio, my GMRS radio, and we did encounter some other people while we were out here, although I didn't get them on video. So I know that there were people out here, but you really should go out with like other people. You shouldn't be going out to like areas that you don't know by yourself. Like, that's just kind of like a recipe for disaster. And as you can see, this is a kind of an example, like I was saying, of the narrowness of the trails. And you can see how pretty much as we go, almost every single bush is touching the side of the Jeep. So this is kind of like what you need to plan for if you plan to come down here to do this badge of honor. So you're about to see one of the reasons why it is really good to have a local guide with you, and also why it's probably not as good of an idea to go out alone. And it's about to come up here just in like a minute or so, pretty quickly. So as narrow as all these trails are, this is a national forest, which means that they do have like lots and lots of rules on cutting trails and stuff, and cutting wood and chainsaws and stuff. And from my understanding, you're not allowed to use a chainsaw in a national forest unless you have a special like certification with the National Forest itself. So we didn't even bring our chainsaw with us. Like, we had it in the trailer, but we didn't actually bring it with us out on the trail just to be
trails are just tight like this.
Yeah.
really, really sure that we weren't going to get in trouble or anything like that for having it with us. Now, I don't know if you can see the obstacle ahead of us. It is coming up, and it is on kind of in the center of the screen. So this obstacle that we're coming up on basically stopped us from going any further on this trail, and it also made it so we had to figure out how to back up and get turned around on this trail, which it was kind of a challenge in itself. It looks pretty high, but believe it or not, like, the cab wouldn't fit underneath that down tree. So yeah, that's the end of this trail. So this is actually the footage of us leaving the trail. So we turned around. We found a kind of a wider spot, and it took a while, but we got ourselves turned around, and now we are headed basically back to the campground to go hang out. And yeah, that's it for the day basically. And you're gonna get to see essentially a really good kind of taste of Tread Lightly, the 81 mile badge system. So if you have any questions for us or anything, feel free to leave them in the comments. I am fairly responsive with responding to pretty much anything that you type on any of the videos. And if you have any questions, just shoot them over, and we'll do our best to answer them. I think, to me, I would have preferred to be in a side-by-side in this park. I think that's really what would probably be the best. Like, I wouldn't be against an ATV, but it's just some of the stuff is so narrow. It would be kind of nicer, I think, to just be something with kind of cage around you to push some of the bushes aside and stuff.